It's late at night, and a hard-working black nurse is heading home after a long shift. Exhausted but relieved to be done for the day, she doesn't expect anything out of the ordinary until flashing lights and a siren pull her over. What starts as a routine stop quickly spirals into something else. The officer, cold and condescending, begins to interrogate her with an edge of hostility that's impossible to ignore. He questions her every move, demands proof of her innocence, and refuses to listen. She stays calm, but the tension in the air is thick. Little does he know, this isn't just anyone he's targeting. This woman isn't only a nurse, she's the daughter of someone with the power to turn his world upside down. When the truth comes out, will justice be served, or will his actions go unchecked? Stay tuned to find out what happens next. As the officer shines his flashlight into her car, the nurse stays composed, even as the questions grow more invasive. "Where are you coming from at this hour?" he snaps, his tone implying suspicion. She calmly explains that she's a nurse, just finishing her shift, but he doesn't seem interested in her answers. Instead, he demands her license and registration with an air of authority that feels more intimidating than professional. She hands over her documents, her hands steady despite the frustration bubbling inside her. She's been through this before, judged before being heard, assumptions made without reason, but tonight feels different. There's something in the officer's demeanor that's unsettling. He seems almost eager to escalate the situation, pressing her with unnecessary questions and accusations. What he doesn't realize is that the ID he's holding carries more weight than he could imagine. He's about to make a mistake he'll regret forever. The officer takes her license and steps back to his patrol car, muttering something under his breath. Sitting alone in her car, the nurse takes a deep breath, glancing at the time. It's late, and all she wants is to get home. She's dealt with tough situations at the hospital, but this, being treated like a criminal for simply driving home, feels unfair and deeply frustrating. From the rearview mirror, she can see the officer typing into his computer, occasionally throwing sharp glances her way. What's taking him so long? She wonders if he's running her plates, looking for any excuse to justify his behavior. It's clear he's trying to find something, anything, to hold against her. But as the minutes drag on, the tension grows heavier. The officer finally steps out and approaches her window again. There's something different in his face now, confusion mixed with unease. He glances at her, then at her ID, as if trying to piece something together. The nurse can feel the shift, but she stays silent, waiting to see what happens next. What exactly did he find? And why does he suddenly seem nervous? The officer's tone softens slightly, but his authority still lingers. "You said you're a nurse?" he asks, his voice uneven. She nods, keeping her calm, though her patience is wearing thin. He seems hesitant now, almost unsure of himself, but he's still holding her ID tightly, as if it's a shield. The nurse knows something has changed, but she doesn't press him. Instead, she waits, watching as he struggles to keep up the facade of control. "I ran your information," he finally says, his eyes darting between her and the patrol car. There's a pause, heavy and deliberate, before he adds, "I didn't realize who you are." Her heart skips, not out of fear but curiosity. He shifts uncomfortably, the weight of his actions starting to dawn on him. "You should have said something earlier," he mutters, more to himself than to her, but she stays silent, letting him squirm. The air between them is thick with unspoken truths, and she knows the next moments will determine everything. The officer clears his throat, his demeanor shifting as he hands back her ID. "You can go," he says quickly, but his voice lacks confidence. The nurse doesn't move. Something doesn't sit right. Why the sudden change? She glances at his badge, committing the name to memory, and asks calmly, "What did you find that made you change your tone?" He hesitates, the tension building. "It's nothing. You're free to leave," he repeats, but his eyes betray him. She doesn't press further, but as she starts her car, another vehicle pulls up, sleek, unmarked, and unmistakably official. Two figures step out, their presence commanding. The officer stiffens immediately, his earlier bravado crumbling as one of them strides toward him. The nurse watches in silence, her curiosity piqued. The man who approaches the officer speaks low but firm, his words too quiet to hear. The officer's face turns pale as he fumbles to explain himself. The nurse suddenly realizes this isn't over. Whatever is unfolding now, it's much bigger than she thought. The nurse watches as the man from the unmarked car finishes speaking with the officer. His expression is unreadable, but the officer looks visibly shaken, nodding repeatedly like a scolded child. Then the man turns and walks toward her car. For a moment, her nerves rise. Who is this? And why is he here? But as he approaches, his face softens, and he gives her a small, reassuring nod. "I'm sorry this happened to you," he says firmly, his voice calm yet authoritative. "Are you all right?" She nods, but her mind races with questions. Who is this man, and why does the officer suddenly seem terrified? Before she can ask, the man gestures to the officer, who's now standing awkwardly by his car. "He didn't recognize who you are, or who your father is," the man explains. But that's no excuse for his behavior. The nurse stares at him, piecing it all together. Her father, the police commissioner, must have sent this man to intervene. But just as relief washes over her, the officer stammers out, "I didn't mean any harm. I was following protocol." The man's sharp glare silences him instantly. Then the unexpected twist comes. The man hands the nurse a card. "We'll be investigating this incident thoroughly," he says, "but there's something you should know. This officer's been reported for misconduct before, and your case might help bring everything to light." As the man walks back to his car, the nurse feels a surge of empowerment. What started as a moment of humiliation now carries the potential to expose a deeper issue. She glances at the officer one last time before driving away, knowing this night could lead to a change far bigger than either of them imagined. As the nurse drives away, she reflects on the night's events, still processing the unexpected twists. What started as a routine drive home turned into something much bigger, an encounter that revealed not just the officer's actions, but a deeper problem within the system. While she feels grateful for the intervention, she knows this isn't just about her. It's about the countless others who might not have someone to step in. The card in her hand feels heavy with responsibility. She knows she has a choice. Let this incident fade into the background or use her voice to bring awareness and accountability. Her father raised her to stand up for what's right, and tonight is no different. As she pulls into her driveway, the exhaustion of the day finally hits her. But this time it's paired with resolve. Change might be slow, but tonight a spark has been lit.